Well, hello again, everybody. I'm Deb Sofield, and you're listening to my weekly podcast series called Encouragement for Your Life. Many of you know I'm a national speaker, trainer, and coach. I like to say I help people find their voice and learn to use it. I'm also a conference speaker on the topics of public speaking for your non-listening audience, presentation skills for the professional, how to deal with the media and when, and I also train in crisis communication. I've got a number of other terrific presentations, and you can find them on my website. If your organization has an upcoming conference and you need a keynote speaker, I hope you'll send them to debsofield.com. I'd love to be a part. I've got a number of books on the market. My best-selling book, Speak Without Fear. My latest book, Perfecting Your Platform. They're both on Amazon and Audible. My series, Encouragement for Your Life, which is a compilation of these podcasts, they're also available on Amazon, volume 1 through 3. Just go to Amazon, type in my name, Deb Sofield, and all my books will appear. So I'm going to continue with my theme on emotions. If you haven't heard the first one, it was about the emotion of anger. Today, I'm going to talk about the emotion of shame. I'm Deb Sofield. Thanks for spending these next few minutes with me. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. So I mentioned I'm going to continue with my theme of emotions, which I believe are causing you harm. Because friend, I want you to understand that you are more than how you feel, and that you can, with some help, heal the damaged places in your heart and mind. So let's continue. I started with the emotion of anger, because let's be honest, anger is a cancer to your soul. So, to have any chance for a successful and happy life, friends, you have got to let that anger go. And then I spoke on jealousy. Oh, that green-eyed monster that will wreck your perfectly happy home and make you, a once normal person, become insane with rage, keeping you up at night, fretting over things you can't control. And then we talked about the emotion of worry. And I have to add that worry is a useless emotion because worry keeps you focused from real things. And then last week I talked about scarcity, the idea of having less than you feel you need. And then we talked about the pain of personal shame. And shame is a failure to meet your own standard of behavior. And that emotion will wreck your life if you're not careful. And then I added in the thought that you should stop thinking that others have to accept your forgiveness to be forgiven. Hey, they don't. Once you've done your part, you're now free. So hear me. Deb Sofield says, walk away without the burden of shame. Probably the best definition of shame that I have heard is that it is a failure to meet your own standard of behavior, whereas guilt is a failure to meet others' standard of behavior. And friend, that's the difference we're going to look at today. I have found in working with people that the brokenness of shame is what keeps many from living life out loud or living to their full potential. What's interesting is that many people have buried shameful incidents from their past, assuming they will not be a problem in the future. But unfortunately, they do tend to raise an ugly head when you least expect it, unless you create a way to beat that monster back down again. For many, guilt is a gut-wrenching emotion. And no doubt, guilt is the heartbreak for many people. But I've also come to believe that shame is the one emotion that plays the most havoc in your life if you're not careful, because it's always in the back of your mind. It may rarely creep up and hit you on the head, but just the remembrance of a time when you failed you is really hard to accept and hard to deal with if you don't put a plan in place. Why? Because if we really believe the concept that shame is not living to our standard of acceptable behavior, it is really a disappointment in our own lives. Others may never know what happened back then, but you do. And when you least expect it, your mind will bring forward the long-lost memory and feeling of when you really messed up. And then you begin to replay the incident in your head all over again. And then down, down, down you go. Friends, we've all done things we're sorry for, and some are feeling shame for actions that were done to them. Whether it was an argument that ended a friendship or a breakup that broke up badly, that's a tough one because I really don't know when breaking up is ever easy. A marriage that was a hot mess from the moment you two said, "I do," or being physically harmed by someone who should have been your protector and not your abuser. Shame can also be associated with family who do not accept who you are or what you believe. Or when you were younger, in those not so great looking years, you didn't get asked to the prom. You were never chosen for a side in basketball. The list, my friend, is endless of incidents that burned a hole in your soul. And what's interesting is that scar is still there. And it is deep for many because you haven't healed the broken place. And what's interesting to me is that for some, no amount of forgiveness from the one you hurt or anyone else will ever be enough. Because the pain is not on them anymore, but on you. Because you failed to meet your own standard of behavior. And you know it. And now you're deeply disappointed in yourself. Let me break right here and say, if you are suffering the shame of having been abused in your life, and they've not been brought to justice or held accountable, the statute of limitation on their crime may still be able to be enforced. And if so, you have every right to seek action. Should you choose not to seek legal action, please consider getting help. Even if it's an old wound, it can be healed with the proper steps, so you can free yourself from the past. Oh, friend, hear me. There is no shame in seeking help. If your issue of shame is not one of physical violence, then let's break it down to a really simple thought. If you carry such a deep hurt, at least you know what caused it. And since you know what caused it, I'm thinking now is the time to heal the hurt. Enough of you carrying around your hidden pain. Friend, dump the baggage in the dumpster and get on with your amazing life. If it was a breakup and now, these many years later, you're at least able to communicate without anger, now you know that life has moved on for both of you. If you were never chosen for sides in sports when you were a kid, now you know it really doesn't matter because you've grown into who you are and the skills that you have. If it was a family issue, well, only time will tell. But remember, you are only responsible for yourself. And if you've done what you can and what you think you needed to do to make it right, or at least as best as it could be, friend, settle the issue in your mind because you're done. You're done. Now walk away and walk down your own path. Here's something I wish I could scream from the mountaintop. Some of you need to stop thinking that others have to accept your forgiveness for you to be forgiven. I know many people who were hurt in the past who now think if they hold on to the anger, it will forever hurt the person who hurt them. But you and I know the truth that the only one who hangs on, well, they're the only ones who are hurt in the end. Why? Because everyone else has gone on with life and they don't even think about you anymore. And I know that hurts all over again. I wish I could make a public service announcement over every radio and TV station and online and every internet blog that simply says, stop thinking that others have to accept your request for forgiveness for you to be forgiven. It doesn't work that way. When you really think about it, friend, you need to realize that you're done and leave the pain of shame in the past and walk away. Stop looking back and picking up the old stones that made you stumble in the first place. That's not shame. That's not even guilt. Pardon my French, that's stupidity. And you're too smart for that. Years ago, I'm thinking it's like 25 years now, I walked away from a friendship that I should have worked on instead of walking away. Walking away was easier. I was busy and I wanted to go and do and be, and my friend, at the time, wanted to sit and stay and not move at all. So in my haste to move on, I left him. Since we weren't going in the same direction, I frankly saw no need to stay around. Now, I have asked forgiveness, and it was given, although begrudgingly, it was the best they could do. And when on that rare occasion I see this person, those thoughts of how I acted, hey, I'll be honest, reminds me I didn't handle it well. And I was for a long time disappointed in me. Me. I should know better. But as a young person, I had a failure to meet my own standard of behavior. It's not rocket science how you treat others, but I was a different person back then. Not to make an excuse, I should have known better. I'm an adult. But I looked out for number one, and I lost a friend. For me, that is a shameful moment because I failed to meet my own standard of behavior. So now I have to really think about pursuing deep personal friendships with people because sometimes I think about that incident and I don't ever want to do that again to anyone. with what I do for a living. It's a tough business. If someone wants a friend who's always here to go and do and sit, I'm not a great choice because I travel a lot. Hey, now the good news is I've got a number of great friends who have their own full and joyful lives. And when we can connect, we have a great time because we understand our time limitations. Everybody's different. I get that. Here's the bottom line. Even I had to move on and forgive myself for the lapse of my own standard of behavior. I expect more out of me. I'll go the next step. I demand more out of me. Why? Because for me, being kind has now become the most important trait I can work on and embody. And I will not allow the shame of my past to wreck my future. In fact, with practice, I've been able to leave my past and live in the light of the present. And friends, so should you. I read a quote that said, "When you can start seeing your scar as a sign of strength and not a pain, you're headed in the right direction." And I'll add, you're healing safely. Friends, we're all a work in progress. Having one bad day is one thing, but letting that day bleed over into having a bad life, hey, that's completely different. So today's the day you forgive and forget the shame of your past. And friends, you walk into the light. Why? Because you were made for more. And mistakes happen. And we're adults. And we've asked forgiveness. And whether they give it or not, if you've done it properly, you're done. Walk away. They can hang on for life. That's not you. Because you have a bigger life to go do big things and help people on their journey. Why? Because frankly, now you're the best person to retell the story. All right, friends, I'm Deb Sofield. You've been listening to Deb Sofield's Encouragement for Your Life. I hope you'll join me next week as I continue this series I have on the pain and value of your emotions. I believe it's an important conversation that we have to have. All right, remember, I don't care what the world says about you. I want you to know I care about you. And I care about you because I believe once you learn to forgive yourself and walk away from the shame that you've been carrying, you can go do big things. And I'm going to walk alongside you as we follow that dream together. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend.